Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well. It's Doug here. In today's video, we're going to be discussing how long it actually takes to improve your singing voice. Then I'm going to talk about the most efficient ways to go about doing it. And lastly, about vocal mastery, how the voice is capable of endless improvement. All right, let's do it. So before we can answer the main question of the title of this video, I first want to define what vocal progress actually is. So to me, when I talk about vocal development or progress or mastery, I'm talking about, being able to sing at your complete vocal range, having your range unlocked and smoothing out the vocal breaks. I want you to have a great tone that you are satisfied and happy with. I want you to have expressive techniques down like riffs and runs, vocal swells, distortion, a great sounding falsetto. Whatever you want out of your voice, you can choose out of that little list there. You don't have to have all of it. You want to be able to sing for long periods of time, have a lot of vocal endurance, and lastly, you want to be very consistent with doing it. So there's no use in getting these techniques or getting a great sounding tone that only works, 50% of the time. So to me, if you can tick all those boxes and get a great sounding voice that you want that works really well and is free, that's vocal mastery to me. Okay, so to answer the question, how long does it actually take to improve your singing voice? It's entirely dependent on how far along the journey you already are. Because for singing, if you've got that ideal mastered voice, soaring into your higher range, sounding great, singing for 3 hours without losing your voice, stuff like that, you might be closer than somebody else watching the video, because for singing, it's almost like a checklist of things that you need to have down for your voice to function correctly. Okay? So if you're struggling with pitch, for example, that's a very low level sort of first issue that you need to solve. In the same way that if you were going to the gym and you couldn't do like a bench press, you should probably just start with doing some push-ups. You know what I mean? Like, you've got to work out the basics first before you can jump right into the most advanced stuff. So I'm saying that whoever's watching this, you might be halfway there, halfway to vocal mastery. You might be at the starting line. You might actually be a really good singer already, and you just need a few things to get you over the edge. So it's really difficult to give you a specific timeline of how long it's going to take, even though I'm going to try. So if you actually spend like 1 or 2 months working with a certain new training that you've never done before that is perfect for your voice. So for example, if you do, let's say, 4 vocal lessons in 1 month and you get really, really good content that you need for your voice and you go ahead and train it, after 1 or 2 months of practicing regularly, like 5 times a week with that new content, you should definitely feel some sort of change. And that change will be from, feeling easier when you're singing the voice. Your vocal tone might slightly improve. You might actually be able to sing longer. All of these things to me count as progress towards vocal mastery. But with that said, after 1 or 2 years of making this incremental progress, once a month you feel like you made a little bit of progress, or once every 6 weeks you feel like you made a bit of progress, or once every 2 months, when you look back, you're going to be able to sing songs that you weren't able to sing before. You're going to be able to feel much better in the voice. Your vocal tone will improve. And the way you can measure it is how you are going, each month. I've never really looked back after training for, a year and being like, oh, my voice got worse, because every single month, you're slightly adjusting what you're doing. You're figuring out, what's not working and what is working. What should I focus on? And I will admit, if you don't have the right training, you won't make progress. That's actually true. You can't just choose any training and follow it and expect to make the same amount of progress as the right training. But if you're getting the right training, if you've got a teacher that you can trust, if you're using a course that you trust and you feel like it's working for you, then yeah, you can use that as your benchmark to make progress. After 5 years though, you should really set like a 5-year benchmark for yourself to really understand that that's where your voice is really going to be working well. So to me, if you practice singing for 5 years, people will definitely be impressed with your voice. People will think that, you were always born as a natural singer. You should have all the things like range and that sorted. You should have a great vocal tone. You probably won't be a master, but you definitely will have made some serious progress in your vocal journey. And if you feel like you hadn't, then you probably didn't have all the right information that you needed at the right time. So what I mean by that is, if you've been singing for 5 years, and I'm talking about like, very consistently, 5 times, 6 times a week, an hour each session, 2 hours in each session. If you don't have the right information, you still wouldn't make that much progress. But if you've got the right info, if you've got a great teacher, if you seriously study and practice hard, I do not think you would be a bad singer after 5 years. I really, really believe that you'll be a great, great singer. And it can be a bit daunting thinking about such a long time period, but remember, you make great progress after a year or 2 years. So if I were to share something, maybe after 2 years, for example, or maybe a year and a half of doing vocal lessons, you might have the confidence to join a band and sing live and even record. But it won't be for another 3 years later where you start to feel like, this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted out of my voice. But people might not even be able to necessarily hear the difference that you made, or people will hear it, but your original voice wasn't so bad that they didn't want to hear you in the first place. You get what I'm saying? So just because you don't have the voice of your dreams after a couple of years, it definitely does not mean you shouldn't jump on the journey and really go for that, 5-year solid focus. So now we're going to discuss how to actually go about improving your voice in an efficient way to be able to achieve this vocal mastery. So I believe that the best way is to study with a great vocal teacher that you trust. You can also study with a good course, provided that you're able to address, your unique issues with it. So let's just talk about the vocal teacher thing for a minute. The reason why it's important to go with someone that can really help you is because I believe singing isn't really that easy to teach yourself with, okay? So for example, different skills have an easy barrier of entry. For example, me learning Photoshop, for example, I can just watch a tutorial on YouTube, learn it, and just go ahead and do it. Video editing is not hard to just get started with, the basics. I would say even guitar and bass, even though you should get a teacher for those, you can, work your way around it and be very, you could say average or just stay at a beginner level and, kind of be decent. But some instruments like violin, for example, I really don't believe you could teach yourself and get to a high level with. You see what I mean? There's different ways that you've got to approach different things. And I think singing, because there's so much going on, it involves the body. You need to have your ear sorted. You need to have an understanding of how the style that you want to sing is affecting your technique. There's a lot to really understand, and it just makes so much sense to go with a teacher who you trust. Now, here's the thing. I offer Skype lessons, but if you're just interested in teachers that I recommend in general, definitely just send me a private email and we can talk about that. And I actually don't think courses, for example, are a bad option for the voice either. And what I want to get across right now is that it shouldn't really be either or. So the way I developed my voice was I actually started with multiple teachers. I really believe that one teacher helped me the most, Phil Mafarage. And I also used, various courses. I would actually look at different vocal books and read the information. But I would always pass the information back to Phil and ask him, what do you think of this? Like, what do you think of this perspective? So you can kind of see how the value of having that teacher to verify whether I'm going in the right direction or not is, it's actually kind of crucial. Because if you get the wrong information, you really could waste a lot of time and you won't actually feel that progress that I talked about earlier, where every single month you feel like you're making a little, 3% increase in progress, 5% increase in progress. So the last thing we're going to discuss here today is that the singing voice is capable of endless improvement. Okay, so we call this vocal mastery. Now, even if you're able to soar into your high range and be incredibly consistent with it, there are always going to be little intricacies that you can develop. So for example, the riffs and runs that you do could always become more intricate and extravagant. You could always spend time developing more expressive techniques, like maybe you have one distorted sound in your voice, but then you could jump to developing another distorted sound. Or maybe you spend 10 years singing rock music and then you decide, you know what, I want to try singing R&B, and then you need to start to get your ear around that kind of style. Like there's always more you could jump into with the voice. I think even writing original music is another path where it just really never ends, because you're never going to write and record and sing, the most perfect original song that you've ever done, because, this is music, this is art. It's creative. You're always creating something new. You're always creating something different in the future. And, there's no real limit to what you can really do in music. So there's no real limit to how you can express yourself in the voice. So the last thing I'm going to leave you with is that when it comes to developing your voice, it really is about the hours that you practice the right stuff. Okay? So all the years that I've made amazing results in my voice are the years that I was able to really focus and just hone in on practicing every single, session 5 times a week, 6 times a week. And, it varies. Sometimes I'll even sing the whole week, and sometimes I'll only sing a few times in that week. But I'm always trying to get back to that consistent place of doing practice, day in, day out. And look, there are times in life where you get busy. I can recall sometimes I was busy writing music or recording music, so I wasn't practicing as much. And you know what? If I spent more time doing my singing practice back then, I would have actually made faster results. But it's really hard to juggle everything sometimes, and you just got to get back onto the path of practicing singing when you fall off it. And that's how you make the progress. All right, so that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed these ideas. Make sure to leave a like. If you've got an idea for a video for me, you can leave it in the comments below. If you have a question about this video, you can leave it in the comments below. Check out my free course. Send me an email, whatever you like. All right, I'll see you in the next video.